They told you to chase success, to climb ladders, tick boxes, smile when you're dying inside. They taught you to fit in, to speak the language of conformity, and to wear masks that suffocate the fire burning in your chest. But here's the truth, the deepest truth Carl Jung ever whispered to this fractured world. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Let that sink in. Everything you fear, everything you sabotage, everything that breaks your heart again and again, it's not a curse, it's a calling to wake up, not just spiritually, but existentially. Because Jung didn't give us a religion, he gave us a mirror. And most people? They've never looked into it. What if I told you the reason you feel lost isn't because you're broken, but because you've been living as a ghost in your own story? That there's a technique buried in Jung's work. Not a trick, not a hack, but a sacred method. To reclaim yourself, to call back the scattered parts of your psyche and piece together something more than survival, something immortal, something whole. This isn't therapy. This isn't self-help. This is a reckoning, a return to the forgotten soul you buried beneath expectation, trauma, and noise. And it starts with one brutal act, facing the shadow. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher. The you that you hide, the rage, the envy, the shame, the hunger, the chaos. It holds more power than any mantra ever could. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Do you understand what that means? You've been running toward the light your whole life, thinking it would save you. But your salvation isn't in the light. It's in the cave you refuse to enter, the confrontation you've avoided, the parts of you that terrify you. They are your treasure. They are the buried gold. This is the technique, active imagination, a mystical psychological alchemy that Jung used to bridge the conscious and unconscious minds. It is not daydreaming. It is not journaling. It is a descent, a dialogue. You sit with the symbols of your dreams. You speak to the archetypes. You allow the unconscious to answer back. You close your eyes and step into the underworld, not to escape, but to bring back something alive. You let the warrior in you bleed. You let the child in you scream. You let the tyrant in you speak. And then you listen. And when you come back, you don't come back the same, because you've seen the face of your soul. And it wasn't pretty, but it was real. That's the power Jung gave us. Not comfort, confrontation. Not escape, integration. And if you want to awaken the soul, truly awaken it, you don't need permission. You need courage. The courage to meet yourself. We are living in an era of masks and filters, where everyone is performing and no one is feeling. We scroll past meaning. We numb our longing. But beneath all the layers, the soul still waits. Ageless, timeless, beckoning. And Jung's work is the map that leads back. But don't mistake the map for the journey. You have to walk it. You have to sit in silence long enough to hear the voices rise from your depths. You have to risk madness for the chance at meaning. Because without that descent, your identity is nothing more than a costume. The persona, the version of you that smiles, that succeeds, that obeys. It's useful. But it's not you, not all of you. It's the mask you crafted to survive. And Jung knew that if you wear it too long, you forget who's underneath. So strip it off. Stand naked before the mirror of your own consciousness. And ask, not who do I want to be, but who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when I stop performing? The world has conditioned you to chase perfection. Jung's method calls you to pursue wholeness. That means owning your light and your shadow, your love and your rage, your wisdom and your wounds. This is not a linear path. There is no finish line. You will get lost. You will break. And that's exactly when the soul awakens. Not in your victories, but in your vulnerability. Not in your answers, but in your willingness to listen, truly listen, to the wisdom of your unconscious. Jung didn't just talk about archetypes, he lived them. He spoke with them. He wrote what they said. He surrendered to the mystery. That's what active imagination is, a ritual of inner dialogue, a bridge between ego and essence. It begins with silence, with attention, with closing your eyes and entering the space within, that inner cathedral where your truth still echoes, undisturbed by the noise of the world. And when you meet a figure in that space, a symbol, a guide, a monster, you do not run. You speak. You ask, "Who are you? What have you come to show me?" And then you listen. You write, you draw, you feel, you witness, because that voice, the one speaking from the depths, it is you, the forgotten you, the soul before the world told you who to be. But make no mistake, this isn't some poetic exercise. This is psychic excavation, a revolution of perception. The ego will resist. It will mock, distract, tremble, because the ego survives by certainty, and the soul lives in mystery. The two were never meant to be enemies, but they must be reconciled. And here lies the paradox Jung understood better than most. You can't become your true self until you admit you are not who you think you are. You are a house of mirrors, a maze of reflections, fears, hopes, and borrowed identities. Every label, every expectation, every mask you wear, they served a purpose. They protected you once. But now they're prisons. Awakening the soul means stepping into the fire and watching those false selves burn. And yes, it will hurt. It will feel like death. Because it is a death, the death of who you thought you had to be. But from that sacred death rises something you never knew you carried. Essence, not image, not identity, not role or resume or reputation. Essence. That is the goal of this technique, not to improve your image, but to retrieve your soul, to dive into the abyss of the unconscious and return not with answers, but with integrity, with pieces of yourself you had long abandoned, the wild, ancient you, the visionary, the wanderer, the truth-teller, the one who cannot be tamed. Let them speak. Let them dance inside you. Let them remind you of what this life was always meant to be, not a performance, but a pilgrimage. Active imagination doesn't give you comfort, it gives you confrontation. You close your eyes and suddenly you're no longer alone. You're standing face to face with your unlived life. And in that moment you realize you were never lacking. You were divided. This is what Jung meant by individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not perfect, not polished, whole. A harmony of opposites, a soul that has shaken hands with its demons and still stands tall. We were never meant to be fragments, never meant to numb, to scroll, to shrink. We were built to feel, to wrestle with the divine, to walk into the chaos of our inner world and shape meaning from the madness. And so when you ask, how do I awaken the soul? The answer is not outside you. It's buried in your depths, in your dreams, your fears, your compulsions, your instincts. The soul does not speak in bullet points. It speaks in symbols, in dream images, in strange characters, in archetypal visions that emerge when the conscious mind surrenders control. When you sit in active imagination, the mind softens, the gate opens, and the soul walks through. It may show up as a child, a serpent, a flame, a forgotten lover, a towering beast. These are not hallucinations. They are messages, coded transmissions from the part of you that never forgot who you really are. And your only task is to stay. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with the image. Stay with the unfolding. Don't interpret. Don't explain. Just witness. Let the encounter change you. Because when you return to waking life, something is different. You're not reacting to life, you're responding to it from a deeper place. A place rooted not in fear, but in truth. This is why the soul awakens. Not because you read a quote or watched a video, but because you did the inner work that most people run from. And Jung knew this would be hard. He spent years in dialogue with the unconscious. He danced on the edge of madness. But he emerged with clarity. Not certainty, clarity. He taught us that the soul speaks only when the ego is silent. And in a world of noise, your silence becomes a form of rebellion, a form of remembrance. So stop running from the silence. Enter it. Sit in that chair. Close your eyes. Let the figures come. Let the visions rise. Let the walls between conscious and unconscious collapse. And when they do, don't just watch. Participate. Ask questions. Offer words. Let it be a conversation, not a command. Because that inner world is alive. It's waiting for you. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about finding yourself. Reclaiming the sacred territory of your own psyche. The kingdom that was always yours to rule, but which you abandoned in the name of fitting in. The soul doesn't want your perfection. It wants your presence. It wants your attention, your honesty, your willingness to go into the dark and return with light not borrowed from others, but forged within. You were never meant to live only on the surface. You were never meant to live someone else's story. You are a myth in motion, a sacred unfolding, a creature of earth and dream. And the Jungian path is not about escaping this world. It's about entering it more fully, from the inside out, anchored, awake, alive. If you've come this far, it means something inside you is already shifting. The old illusions are starting to crack. You're beginning to see that the cage you lived in was never locked. It was only painted to look like protection. And now you stand on the threshold of a deeper life. One that isn't driven by performance or praise, but by inner alignment. A life guided not by the voice of the crowd, but by the voice within. The modern world will never understand this fully. It worships productivity, not presence. It rewards repetition, not revelation. But your soul is not here to be optimized. It's here to be liberated. You are not here to be normal. You are not here to blend in. You are here to awaken. And awakening means remembering. Remembering that the self is not a role you perform. It's a sacred center buried beneath years of noise, distraction, conformity. Carl Jung didn't offer us motivation. He offered us transformation. Not quick fixes, but initiations. He knew that the only way out of despair was through the descent, through the dream, the shadow, the unconscious. He knew that beneath the chaos of your outer life lies the hidden order of your inner world, and once you learn to see with the eyes of the soul, everything changes. You no longer chase meaning, you become it. You no longer beg for permission. You embody your path. Because now you know, every trigger, every breakdown, every moment of confusion is not a sign that you're broken. It's a summons, a divine invitation to descend inward, to meet the figures that live within you, and to finally realize that they are not enemies. They are fragments of the self, calling you home. So let the ego crumble. Let the mask fall. Let the parts of you that no longer serve collapse in the fire. Because only when you've let go of who you think you are, can you step into the mystery of who you truly are. And you will know when it happens. You'll feel it in your bones. A quiet strength will rise in you. Not arrogance, not certainty, but an unshakable knowing. You will no longer seek the light, you will radiate it. You will no longer fear the dark, you will walk with it. And you will no longer ask, what should I do? Because the answer will already be alive inside you, beating like a second heart. Become who you are, not what they told you, not what fear demands, but what your soul has whispered since the beginning. And in that becoming, you don't just awaken yourself, you awaken the world. You carry a presence that cannot be imitated, a clarity that cuts through the noise, a depth that reminds others what it means to be whole. This is the Carl Jung technique, not a method, a return to the fire, the mirror, the silence, the soul. And once you taste this depth, there is no going back. You are not who you think you are. You are far more. So go inward, go deep, go now, and don't look away. Because the only thing more terrifying than facing your soul is never knowing what it came here to become. Now rise. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs a true one. Let that be your revolution. Let that be your rebirth. Let that be the moment you awaken.